morning, everyone, and welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. I've got a new pair of glasses on, and I've got a good friend of mine here, Dave Bookbinder, who is the director of Eisner Amper.
Hey, Mark.
How are you, David?
Glasses are looking great.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. How's it going?
Good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. So, advisory services, Eisner Amper does tax, tax planning, a whole number of things. And valuation services is what you head up in the Philadelphia office, right?
Well, I don't know that I head it up per se, but there's an area of valuation that I'm certainly responsible for inside of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And you're right, Eisner Amper is one of the largest accounting firms in the country. And it's a full-service accounting firm, like you said. So it's tax, it's audit, but also consulting services, advisory services like valuation. We also have something that's very unique in the Center for Family Business Excellence, which is focused on family businesses and helping them with their exit planning and strategy around that.
Perfect. So in terms of valuation services, Dave, small businesses know and medium-sized businesses know just about everything there is to know about their business. Profit and loss, what their balance sheet looks like, maybe cash flow, customer valuation or a lifetime value of a customer. What they don't know typically is the value of their business. Tell us why that's so important.
Yeah, well, there's a number of reasons why people need a valuation. And usually it's not because they wake up tomorrow and say, I want to know what my business is worth. Usually they're trying to do some other thing, another strategic imperative, Mark. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's trying to complete some financial statements. Maybe they're trying to raise capital. Maybe they're thinking about succession planning, gifting shares to their kids or their grandkids. Could even be tracking towards IPO. Mm-hmm. In the process of pursuing that other endeavor, usually the accountant, the attorney, the IRS, or the SEC will tell them, before you can complete that, you need to get your business valued, your stock options valued, your intellectual property valued.
Right. And a lot of times, Dave, a lot of entrepreneurs might turn to their accountants. They might turn to, maybe a rule of thumb.
Oh yeah.
Right? How do they value their business? But really, what they ought to be looking at are experts like you and Eisner Amper in the valuation services business, because you really don't know what the value of your company is until a valuation is performed.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it any better, frankly. Ironically enough, I was on a conference call yesterday with a CFO of a pretty large and very sophisticated company. The guy's very sharp, and we're talking about some strategic imperative that he has, and he rattles off the idea that, look, I already know my business is worth between 4 and 6 times EBITDA. So somewhere in the course of history, someone determined that 4 to 6x EBITDA is the multiple that all businesses transact at.
Sure.
And I can tell you that that's not the right way to be thinking about it.
It's not the case. Every business, every industry is different.
Correct.
And what I want to get out of today's interview, Dave, with you is not, many things, but why is this important to businesses? Why is it important to small businesses? Why is it important to mid-sized businesses? You mentioned IPOs earlier. Well, it's easy to value a business that's publicly traded because you know how many outstanding shares there are times the number of, times the value of the stock. But in terms of a privately owned business, why is that important to me?
Yeah, so great question. So many answers there. One is, of course, the strategic imperative for which they need the valuation.
Yeah.
So that's mission number one. If they're gifting shares, it's got to pass muster with the IRS. Mm-hmm. If they're doing a capital raise, it's got to pass muster with the board of directors, the investors, and things like that.
Right.
And maybe the accounting firm as well. But underpinning all of these other strategic imperatives, Mark, is, in my view, an idea that there's an opportunity to really get a handle on what drives the business. So when you think about the privately held companies, a lot of them don't know what they don't know, mm-hmm. In terms of how investors might think and how buyers might think, and they don't understand the valuation methodologies that they'll be using if they're actually going to pursue that kind of an exit strategy.
Right.
Like you said, they manage their businesses, they know everything top and bottom, but talked to a prospect just a week or two ago who's thinking about an exit and acknowledged correctly that they've been managing their business with a strategic goal of reducing taxes.
Yeah.
So net income is as close to zero as it's going to be.
Right.
So if you're a prospective buyer and you're looking at that, look, they've got to spend more time now explaining away the historic performance.
Exactly.
And they could have managed the process a little bit differently if they were moving towards an exit.
Yeah. So can you do me a favor and just kind of broadly, let's not get into the details of this, but broadly explain to the audience what are the kinds of things that go into the valuation, developing a valuation for a business?
Yeah. Hit the high points.
High points.
So
Yep.
methodology-wise, one is a market-based approach. And if you've ever bought or sold a house, you understand generally what a market-based approach is.
Yep.
If you're selling, you're looking at comps, right? What other houses have sold in your neighborhood?
Exactly.
Do the comparison between square footage and other features. And so
Like
forth.
kind businesses, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So in my world, we look at like kind transactions of similar businesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. If the company's of a large enough size, we can also look at a publicly traded peer group and develop trading-based multiples from those publicly traded companies.
Okay.
The other methodology that's probably the most reliable is a discounted cash flow model. It's an income-based method.
Mm-hmm.
And if your audience takes away one key thing about valuation, it would be this. Valuation is a forward-looking exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't as much about what you did last year. It's what does next year and the year after that and the year after that look like. So when you think about these multiples, they're based on a snapshot in time as of financial performance at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't tell the rest of the story. So that income-based approach where you actually have to look out into the future is critical. And management needs to be able to provide that vision for us. What does the future look like? Our role is to maybe help them construct the forecast, but more or less it's really about testing the underpinning assumptions and then assessing the risk associated with achieving those forecasts.
Okay. So it's really number crunching, right? So you're looking at the value of other businesses, you're comparing other businesses, and then you're looking at some sort of level of discounted cash flow. But after the break, we're gonna take a 1 minute break here in a second. But after the break, Dave, what I want you to talk about is the value of human capital, the value of the people within the organization. What does that kind of look like? We're going to take a 30-second break here. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Is your business growing and now you need a new and bigger building? Has your organization outgrown their facility and now it's time to expand?
Do your hobbies require the need for more space?
If you're paying rent, but now you want the advantages of owning, the prospect of financing, construction, and on-time completion may seem out of your reach. General Steel Corporation has the answer. A pre-engineered steel building from the General will not only look great and satisfy almost any need, but you'll save time and money. Our team will help you create your building and deliver it to your location. We offer design services to help you present your concept to board members, bankers, or for fundraising. And the General can even help with financing. General Steel is a name you know, with quality backed by a 50-year structural warranty. Call today and find out how easy it is to have the building you want. You may even save up to $20,000 with rebates. If you need space, you need the General.
Seniors want peace of mind and a free prescription discount card? Keep listening. Are you age 85 or younger? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from Final Expense Direct Insurance Services. The average funeral now costs over $7,000, and the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. Our senior plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Get your free information about our senior plans. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone. Plus, call right now and you'll receive a free prescription discount card.
Call 855-223-7661. That's 855-223-7661. 855-223-7661.
Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. Everyone, I am Mark Iorio, your host, and with me is Dave Bookbinder. Dave is the partner, you're a partner, you're a director at Eisner Amper, one of the largest accounting, advisory, consulting firms in the U.S.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
And Dave is in the Philadelphia office, and I misspoke earlier. You don't head up the valuation services group, but you're part of it.
That's correct.
Okay. So before the break, we were talking about different methodologies of valuing a business. One's discounted cash flow, one's the market approach, or doing comparable sales. And I was just saying before the break that the one key element of what we don't talk about enough are the people. The people within an organization are critical to the organization, right? We look at the Gallup response, which came out, the State of the American Worker, Dave. 31% on average, 30% on average of the American workers in the U.S. are engaged in their work. It's a known fact that as you start to elevate that engagement, the value, the profitability of the organization goes up. And I want you to talk a little bit about people, because there's a reason for this. Can I hold this up?
Absolutely.
So Dave is the proud author of the new ROI, Return on Individuals. And for the first time in history, in the world of business, people are talking about the value of individuals as it relates to the value of the organization. And you've tied these two things together, and whereas in the past they have inextricably been separated for some reason. On the balance sheet, of course, right?
Yeah, people do not appear on a balance sheet.
Yeah, they don't.
No, that's the irony, right? So every CEO on the planet says people are our most valuable asset,
They always do.
but they don't wind up on a financial statement.
Yeah. So, talk to us about the importance of people and what you're seeing here.
Yeah, so thanks for showing the book. That book was actually born from just this idea that in my world as a valuation analyst, I've valued intangible assets, one of which is human capital. And without casting aspersions, I just didn't think that the methodologies that we have available to us to value human capital really tell the whole story.
Right.
So I wrote one article, which turned into a series and then ultimately became the book. And if I could summarize it succinctly, it would be like this, Mark. When you think about the value of a business, it's really a function of how well the financial capital and the intellectual capital are managed by the human capital. So you need to get the human capital part right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, how's that been received in the community, in the valuation community as a whole, Dave? What are you seeing out there when you talk about the value of human capital as it relates to the value of business, of the business? How's that been received?
Well, there's two components in there. I mean, in the valuation community, I think most of my peers and colleagues agree that a cost to replace method doesn't tell the whole story. So basically, the long and short of it is you are fungible. We can find another host who will be paid a similar amount of money, get the same kind of benefits, and you have a learning curve and a training cycle and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And anybody else could sit in that chair. It totally disregards all the intellectual property that you have in here and all the nuanced things that go along with an individual. I think most of my colleagues agree with that. In terms of the other component that you addressed, I mean, this book was a journey for me. Instinctively, I always believed that people really are a company's most valuable asset. Again, hamstrung by the mathematics and the formulas that I have available to me. But in collaborating with more than 20 other thought leaders from across the country, what I've learned and disclosed in the book is that there is empirical data of all kinds that actually do demonstrate, to your point, that companies that invest in people actually outperform their peers.
Yeah. See, that to me is fascinating, and congratulations for authoring the book, and congratulations for this thought leadership that you've developed over the years.
Thank you.
It's really commendable. You've been around for a while. You've worked for other firms. Talk to us about the value of having the Eisner-Amper brand behind you, and when you go out to solicit, new business, right? Yeah. Isn't that a fantastic way to say, okay, I've got, I'm a partner at Eisner-Amper, director at Eisner-Amper.
Thanks for the promotion, by the way.
Sure.
No, you promoted me to partner twice.
I did.
Thank you
I'm
for
sorry. That's good. Everyone should hear that.
Yes.
But yeah, talk about that. I mean, isn't that a wonderful brand to walk around with?
Absolutely. A very well recognized brand, fantastic reputation. I mean, in this market in particular, everybody knows the firm. Everybody knows the executive leadership team. Lori Reiner is an institution in this city. I'm sure if they're watching, everybody who's viewing probably knows Lori, for example.
Sure.
So yeah, that definitely helps. It's an easy way to start a conversation to be associated with Eisner-Amper.
Does it make your job to go out there and solicit valuation services with new clients and prospects? Does it make it easier to have a brand like Eisner Amper behind you?
It certainly helps, no question.
Yeah.
A lot of times, unfortunately, there are buyers who are less sophisticated in terms of how they think about buying financial services, and valuation in particular.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I'm helping other accounting firms where they're conflicted from performing a valuation.
Got it, okay.
So a client says to their accounting firm, well, who do you recommend? So I spend a lot of my time being the one of 3 names that accountants are going to hand out to that client in that instance. And a lot of times, because they're given 3 names, there's this misconception, if you will, that everybody's equal. And a lot of times their instinct is they'll default to price. And there's frankly a lot of low-cost providers in our space.
Sure.
And you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you do. So you're in a, I mean, it's a competitive business. You said it. Valuation services are competitive. You've got some low-cost providers out there. You've got some of the larger providers out there. You've got some regional providers out there. How are you finding new clients? What is the kind of the methodology behind the sales and marketing approach for your firm, for Eisner Amper and the valuation practice?
I'd say it's multi-pronged. Like I alluded to earlier, most of the time it's a referral-based opportunity because the client doesn't even often know that they're going to need a valuation until somebody else tells them in that other process that, hey, you need to get your business value or your IP valued.
Right, sure.
So it's building and maintaining a lot of relationships. It's building trust because you screw up once and you're done. But it's also being out there. It's being perceived to be a thought leader. So it's being visible on social media. It's about speaking. The book certainly helps increasing visibility and awareness.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation starter. But look, at the end of the day, Mark, when people start to evaluate 3 engagement letters or proposals, whether it's accounting service, legal services, or valuations, what happens usually is they line up the bios and everybody has all the right letters after their name. They take a look at Tombstone's recent experience, and everybody can generally demonstrate experience in the prospective client's particular industry. And if everybody does their job right, the fees ought to be comparable, right? They ought to be in some reasonable range if everybody's looking at the same scope.
Should be, yeah.
So if you're that buyer, what do? It really comes down to people.
People, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a rapport, it's a relationship. You've got to work with someone that you like and that you trust.
Yep. We're going to come right back after this break from our sponsors, but I want to talk a little bit more with Dave about what he just said with regard to people and how he develops those personal relationships with those prospects and his clients. We'll be right back after this message.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Thousands of people contact General Steel each month for a pre-engineered steel building. Business owners who need office, retail, manufacturing, or storage facilities. Leaders who need churches, schools, and gymnasiums. They all want the same thing, the advantages of owning. To build quickly and save money. Quality, backed by our 50-year structural warranty. And they all want to work with a name they know, General Steel. Call us today for the building you need and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction.
Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. I'm with Dave Bookbinder. Dave is a director at Eisner Amper. I try to make him partner 3 times today, at least, well, twice so far, but again, the 3rd time. So it's a good promotion.
I appreciate that.
Anytime. It's my job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Before the break, we were talking about, the thing that makes you and Eisner different, right? One of the cool things about business is that we see things around the corner that we probably couldn't see around 20 years ago. We're able to kind of diagnose problems. And today, what I find in my interview process, Dave, over the last 8 months, 9 months, is that the most successful people are out there building relationships with people they know, like, and trust. To quote one of our good friends,
right.
Bill Borton, right?
And Bob Berg.
And Bob Berg, yeah. But so it's really all about that. And at the break we were talking about different ways to keep in touch with people, and building that personal bond and personal relationship, including writing thank you cards to people by hand. So what are the kinds of things that you're doing? Not hiding behind text messages, not sending just random emails out or making phone calls. How do you build those relationships?
Yeah, great question. Well, I tell you, it's not handwritten notes for me. My handwriting is horrible.
Is it horrible?
So, yeah, you wouldn't be able to even read the
well,
words.
Wait a minute. You did write me a note inside the book here. Hi, Mark. It's the people.
It says 4 marks. See what I mean?
Oh, it says 4. Okay.
See what I mean? You made my point. So thanks for that. On national television, no less. Awesome.
Anytime.
Yes, but to answer your question, I think it's a mindset. I've said before that you can call me pretty much anything, but don't call me a vendor.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
There's a lot of folks in any service industry that can adopt that mindset that they're just a vendor, especially if they compete on price.
Right.
So I do believe it's important that you build rapport with people. And I can tell you what clients have said to me. I've asked them when I've displaced an incumbent, for example.
Sure.
And they'll say things like, you asked better questions. I got the sense that you cared more. And my favorite one is, I really can't articulate it. It just felt different.
Interesting.
So here's a real quick recent example. So I'm working with a great client in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I unseated an incumbent who was literally around the corner from them. And it had a lot to do with the fact that I actually went down and visited them. And their first question was, of course, so what other things are you doing while you're down here? What brought you to Virginia? Other business? I looked him right in the eye and I said, no, you mattered to me. I came here to see you guys.
Wow.
And I think it's those kinds of things that matter.
See, they're the kinds of things that I think people look at, and they look at you and say, I like him, I like working with him. You mentioned something a minute ago. You ask different questions, you ask better questions, you ask questions maybe that indicate that you care about the business that you're valuing, right?
Yeah.
They're important. I mean, if you don't get into the personality of the ownership or the leadership in the organization, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's a mindset, like I said. So I go into these conversations with the goal of just trying to help and add value.
Yeah.
And I don't think of myself as a vendor, as I've said before. I try to ask other questions because I'm thinking of other ways to help this prospect or client and connecting dots for them and maybe connecting them with people. So depending on what their challenges are and what I hear, I'm happy to make an introduction for them, and they very often appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. So are you seeing that, Eisner Amper is they're a big organization, right? Big company, but I've always looked at Eisner Amper kind of as a family business, even though they're, how many, 1,900?
Yeah, 1,800, 1,900.
1,900
exactly.
people. I mean, that's a lot of people. But what you're saying to me is that, still the personality of this organization and you, and you know, you deserve a lot of credit for this, because I've been around valuation businesses for a long time. You and I have had these conversations before, right?
Yes, we have.
And you know, not everyone goes into a valuation process like that. They kind of look at the numbers. You know, it's very kind of sterile or clinical, and right. And I need you to talk about the fact that it's not just about the numbers, right, Dave?
No, it's really not. But look, to be fair to some of my colleagues, and depending on who you've talked to, a lot of them are very academic. Maybe they haven't worked in industry, so they come at it from a more of a theoretical perspective than necessarily hands-on. So to the extent that you've done the work, so to speak, you've been on the other side of the table, you've been inside organizations, you can come at it from maybe a different lens.
Yeah, sure. You know, I think we talked about this earlier, but I want to touch back on this again, and the importance of getting, you know, small businesses and mid-sized businesses to approach valuation not as a scary, you know, hairy monster out there, but something that's really critical to them planning, as you said, maybe exiting, succession planning, those sorts of things that are so critical to, you know, running a business. And the other thing that I found too, Dave, is that it gives you different insight on the company that you're running when you have a valuation report in front of you.
Yeah, bingo.
Right?
You hit it right on the head. So I guess I've been accused of being a teacher at some point, but I enjoy the mind share. I enjoy explaining the theory. I enjoy explaining the concepts to clients so that they understand it, because it isn't just a black box. And it isn't about just checking a box to say, okay, I got this done, I can satisfy my accountant or my attorney. Those who really want to understand it can learn all the interrelationships between intangible assets and business value, people and business value, what drives the overall value of their enterprise. And a lot of times it's enlightening for them.
Yeah. Dave, this has been a fantastic 30 minutes. Thank you so much.
Very, very quickly. Thanks so much for
Yeah, it
having me.
did go quickly. Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you tell everyone how to get in touch with you at Eisner Amper,
Yeah,
please?
sure. You can find me at Eisner Amper's website, eisneramper.com. And you can also find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Awesome. It's been a great half hour. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for us on Rainmakers Roundup. We'll see you next week on Wednesday morning at 10:30. Have a great week.